Hey there, Citizen Paler here, and welcome back. It's time for sort of a tour of duty, but also not entirely a tour of duty. In this episode, we're going to be going over the Aurora. This is the Aurora MR in particular, but we're also going to be just asking, how viable is it? I'm going to take this ship, and I'm going to put it through the paces. Actually, I've already done it. This is all post. And see, okay, this is the most common starship in Star Citizen. They like to say it's the most popular. Let's be honest, that's not true. It may be the most owned, but that doesn't mean it's actually popular. Popularity and that they're not, one does not equal the other. But it is the cheapest ship. It did come with the original starter packs for the long time. So this one is in the most fleets, or most people have their hands on this ship or one of the many variants of this ship. And I think it's important to say, okay, if this is going to be a ship that a lot of people are going to be starting off with, how well does it actually work? Quickly, we're going to do a quick walk around of it before they despawn my ship here. So the ship does come with 4 hardpoints. Depending on the variants you get, you have generally 2 hardpoints matched out, fitted. It's the ones under the wings here. Now, these are not the standard guns. We'll get into that. But you have one under kind of the wing here. You have 2 up under the nose, so right there and right there. And then you have another one on the wing on this side. There's also a small missile rack on the top. We can kind of see it if we go back into third person. And can I go any higher? Yeah, so you can kind of see the missiles right there. So those are the lights in the front, but just behind the lights there's 2 missiles. We'll see them later on in third person. So that's your basic armament. As we come to the back here, it's a small ship as you would expect. There is this weird underbelly side here. So these ships are supposed to have a cargo box that can go underneath these things that you can pick up. It's kind of a large cargo box, and this is kind of the clamp system for picking it up. All of that is not currently implemented and working. Right now, these ships have 3 SCU by default of storage space. There is one called, what is it, the CL variant? I think it's the CL variant. It's supposed to have 6. Yeah. I don't know if that actually works. Right now, it's just all kind of buggered. Unfortunately, the ship matrix is way out of date for a lot of this stuff. So, but yeah, there's supposed to be basically this back one slides back, the left and right one slide apart. There'll be a box that slides in here, clamps down, and it'll hold either 3 or 6 SCU of storage. By default, though, like right now, we could go and just put 3 SCU in this. In fact, I have footage of buying 3 SCU of scrap. Come back around here. You can enter from either side. They work the same. We'll just open the door and the ladder. So we could just go and walk up. Can we not walk up? Nope. Okay. You can exit by just doing that. Climb up here. But you got to be careful. I just actually killed myself exiting by doing that. So you can do that on either side. There is a bed in the back here, so we can go ahead and we can enter the bed. So theoretically, you can log out and respawn in this ship. That'll be more effective once persistence is in. But theoretically, you do have this option later on. Okay, go ahead and climb out of it. There's obviously this little entry ramp area. This is going to come into play later on as we talk about how viable this ship is. And then the small little front cockpit. There's not a whole lot to this ship. It's, the smallest, cheapest starter ship, or at least the base variant of this, the smallest, cheapest starter ship in game. So yeah, everything's kind of built on top of this or past this in some way or another. Let's go ahead. We'll call landing services. And we will turn on. We'll go flight ready. And we'll take off. Let's see, do we have enough room? We should have enough room. This thing doesn't take much space to get through the gate. You don't have to wait for it to open up too wide. Yeah, we're through. Okay, raise landing gear, and away we go. Okay, I'm now going to pretty much just go into all post commentary. The one thing I did want to do here was I wanted to check this. I wasn't sure if it was bugged last time as I was messing around. You're going to notice no altimeter. We don't have an altimeter on this UI for some reason. Something's bugged in there. That's not the way it's supposed to be. But it does make coming in and out of planets and moons a little more difficult because you don't know how high up off the surface you are unless you actually have something you can actually target. Okay, now let's kind of just talk a little bit about the Aurora and how viable is it actually. And a lot of it comes down to the default loadout and the weapons and how terrible it really is. Almost all the Auroras come with just 2 weapons, and they end up under the wings. I believe they're the Yellow Jackets. They're a laser. It's not a repeater. It's not like the Badgers that have the high rate of fire. It's the laser cannon, I guess is what they're called. So it's like pew, pew, pew. Low rate of fire. Reasonable amount of damage comes out of them. Unfortunately, though, they have very poor heat efficiency, so they overheat after only a few salvos. And they're not good for starting players. I think this has been my whole big hang up on the Aurora. You look at the Aurora, at least I look at the Aurora, and I say, okay, what's going to be the primary person using this ship? It's going to be probably the people that wanted to, A, invest the least amount of money into Star Citizen, completely fine, but also it's going to be the people that probably are not going to be using a HOTAS or a dual joystick, people that aren't going to be using a controller, people that aren't going to be probably not seasoned pilot simulator type people that don't spend a lot of time in virtual cockpits, are probably going to be the people using the Aurora. And then you have 4 size 1 hardpoints that pretty much have some of the most precise lasers, most difficult to use weapon systems in the game. You have a low rate of fire, you don't have a lot of sustained rate of fire, and they're not gimbaled. You can't gimbal them being size 1. That just does not make for a good new player, I'm not a very good pilot experience for most people. So I took that and I was like, well, what do we do? How do I really test this to see if it's viable? And the solution to me was scatterguns, either the ballistic or the energy. And then based off that, I was like, well, the ballistic scatterguns, they're not bad, but they fall under the ballistics category where they're just not well balanced right now. Also, I wanted to be something that didn't have to worry about running back and getting ammo for. So I went with the energy ones. And thankfully with 3.4, Hersa Dynamics, the Central Business District, we can now buy the Dominance Scatterguns. And they come in 3 variants. Are they called Scatterguns? They're Dominance something. Dominance... Are they just called Dominance 1s? I'm just checking here. Just called Dominance 1s. Or what are they classified as? Can't actually see what they're classified as. Anyway, they're energy scatterguns is what they are. And I put 4 of these on to the Aurora. I took off the base ones, and I'll tell you, I was very pleasantly surprised. When you shoot these things, because you have 2 in close right under basically your feet as the pilot, but then also 2 out a little bit wider on the wings, they cover a good field of fire in front of you. Their range isn't great, as you would expect, but if you get within 600 meters of a target and you can put it somewhere towards the center of your screen, you can just fire over and over and over again. They're very energy efficient, and they work really well. I was extremely happy with them. I went ahead, and once I got these on and started flying around, I went ahead and basically just started doing all the different mission varieties I could. Started off with the bounty hunting ones, the go-to assistance with clearing out sectors and stuff. And I'll tell you what, Buccaneers, Hornets, none of them were a problem. They were all very easy to pop. Mustangs, I won't say they were a problem, they weren't a danger. Just due to the way the Mustang is designed, it's hard to hit with a scatter. It's hard to hit with any weapon. The Mustangs are a pain in the butt to shoot unless you hit them right at the perfect angle due to their profile. So the Mustangs took a little bit to really get into and kill, but again, they weren't real danger. Even up to a Cutlass. This thing took care of a Cutlass without much trouble at all. I would be a little cautious going beyond a Cutlass. A Freelancer would probably be okay. It's going to take a little while to get through a Freelancer. They're pretty darn tanky, but an AI-controlled Freelancer isn't going to be much danger. Constellations, now we're starting to get into a little bit of a danger zone because they have both the top and bottom turret, and then it's kind of a DPS race. Will 4 of these size 1 scatterguns take care of a Connie before one of their turrets can whittle you down? That's going to be very pilot dependent, depending on how well you can stay behind it, stay in the blind zone where the turrets can't hit you. You could definitely do it, but it's going to take a little while to burn through one of those. Cutlasses and Freelancers, the Cutlass, if you get it from the belly, it doesn't stand a chance. You know, it has nothing to fight back against you. That's just not the case with a Connie. But a Connie is a lot more durable than a Cutlass either. But basically up to and including Freelancers, you can take on really well for these dominance shotguns, scatterguns. So those worked just fine. Obviously, any of the retrieval missions where you have to fly out and you find a black box, or you go to a planet and you can retrieve this box here or whatever, you throw it in the back, even the running of the delivery missions, those all work perfectly fine. You have that cargo area in the back. In fact, that would be where I'd recommend a lot of people, if you have an Aurora and you want to make a few thousand credits to go ahead and buy a rifle or whatever, do delivery missions. Courier missions, they're going to work just fine with this thing. You can do some basic cargo hauling. Not a whole lot, but some basic cargo hauling. You do have 3 SCUs, possibly 6 when they get the box in the back working. You're not going to make a whole lot of money off of it. It's not going to be productive. But if that's just kind of what you wanted to do, you want to go ahead and buy some Widow and sell it and be that black market runner or whatever, the return due to your limited storage capacity is going to be very limited, but it's definitely there and viable. You can even do the missions where you go down and clear out the strongholds on base on planets, on Hurston, basically, where you go down, you have to destroy the 5 laser turrets. So you don't technically have to destroy them. You can land away from them and come in, but go down and clear out the hostiles on the ground locations. You can do that with it. There's some small problems with that. You got to be careful when you're going in. Those 5 turrets, I think they're all using double repeaters on them. So there's 10 heavy rate of fire lasers shooting at you as you come in. They'll go through your shields pretty darn fast. You got to play it cautious. You got to stay mobile, keep strafing. Don't let them hit you too hard. But once you destroy the turrets and everything, the rest of it is perfectly fine. You land, go in, do your thing, come back out, and take off. Exiting's a little painful. In fact, travel's a little painful in general in this thing. Getting from Hurston ground to space where you can quantum travel, this thing's not exactly fast. It takes it a long time to achieve deep space. So that's a little painful, but also your quantum travel's slow. It's a size 1 engine, so if you're traveling from Crusader to Hurston and back and forth, you're going to be in quantum for quite a while. Go ahead and throw some YouTube up or something. That would definitely make it a little bit better. You can play this ship a little bit AFK. But yeah, in general, this ship, if you do load it out correctly, play to its strengths, not really its strengths, but eliminate some of its weaknesses. Use those scatter guns to make up for the lack of gimbals. When you have them spread out the way they are, when you fire them, it covers basically your whole central field of view, allows you to really be a lot more forgiving. It works well. The down caution a little bit that we want to put in there, though, is you are putting nearly 20,000 credits worth of weapons onto a very cheap ship. So you got to be careful of flying into something and blowing yourself up, getting shot down by another player. You know, you do have an elevated risk there. It's like 19,480 credits, I think, to buy the 4 scatterguns, something in there. Now, you can mitigate that a little bit. If you don't worry so much about going after Connies and stuff, you do more of the ones where you know you're going to be hunting Buccaneers or whatever, just pick up 2. Now you're less than 10,000 credits invested. Within 3 missions, 3 bounties, you can make that back. And then anything beyond that is just pure profit and everything. And if you play it safely, I ran this thing around for a good 90 minutes, didn't lose them at all. And they worked really well. So yeah, I'm happy with it. The pain to get to atmosphere, the screwed up UI aside, other than that, it's not as bad as it seems. Unfortunately, though, just the default loadouts that come from the store, those default loadouts are really rough. So you got to get 10,000, 20,000 credits, put those 10, 20,000 credits into weapons, use that to get, 40, 60, 80,000 credits. So when you die, you can, maybe have a few of them in spare, and wherever you need to, you just go ahead and insurance claim the ship, throw them back on there, and you're good to go. I'm going to continue to do some more testing like this. This was actually, I'm getting ready to start working on the weapons series, and that was kind of why, I wanted to try out these size 1s. I was like, well, let's put them on the Aurora and see what they do. And so that was where the dominance got played. I'm going to try some other size 1s, see what they work. I don't think the repeaters are going to be great just because of the way the weapons are and stuff, but we'll see. Maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised. But overall, the Aurora, for what it is, it gets the job done, and I think that's perfectly adequate for the entryest of the entry-level ships. Alright everyone, let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I will get back to, any of the reasonable ones. Until next time, this has been Paler. Thanks for watching.